Come on, I would have found humor in it.
We wouldn't have known until the end.
Okay.
Maybe you would.
We wouldn't have known until the end.
All right, everyone, welcome to the TST Technician's Choice Award for 2012. And we have a surprise guest speaker tonight. Peter Cole of Neutronics, which will follow right after our awards, will be speaking about 1234YF. This is the new refrigerant that is going to affect us, that's supposedly going to be put in a bunch of cars that Mercedes-Benz had in their vehicles and taken out, changing plumbing with the AC system. So we'll let the expert speak about it. And if you're not familiar with Neutronics, Neutronics makes identifiers to tell what refrigerant or flammables are in an AC system. I've used them for years. We've had them up here many times over the past years. So Peter
and
Cole,
sealants too. Test for sealants.
that's the first thing you should do.
Absolutely.
So there you go. We will have other people coming on in the future, like the guys from MotorLogic and a few other people. But tonight, we'd like to start the Technician Choice Award. You probably have that other paper. Oh, no, here it is. Yeah. Here we go. And like, unlike, I should say, any other awards, the TST Technician's Choice Award for 2012, this has been selected by technicians, I think you see here.
Who actually use them.
Who actually use them.
Yeah.
We have Basil Vastro, is it?
Stratos.
Stratos.
Vastro.
Close.
First
What
name
do
and
I
last
know?
name mixed
I only know
together
him for about 15 years. Rich Peterson, Ed Hazard, myself, G. Trulia, Pierre Rispo, Bear Stolberger, Eric Dimna.
There you go.
I got bad at names. Last
First
night
name's yeah, last
I'm
name's
teaching a
like
class last night, and I forgot the sponsor's name. But that's the way it goes. I'm brain dead with names. At any rate, it's, you know, when you do too many jobs at once. So, at any rate, what we're going to do in our TST newsletter for February is go over all of these tools in depth. The following tools were selected by the TST board, these guys you see here and others, for number one, ease of use. So it has to be easy to use. When we do our scan tool shootout, we always say what, Pierre, the first
The
thing?
standard disclaimer is, we are techs and we pick up the tool and we use it. It has to be easy to use without reading the manual. It has to be intuitive.
That's right.
If it doesn't pass that test, are you going to use it as a tech in the shop? Maybe not.
Because guys really don't read the book, right?
Super user-friendly.
Yes.
So that's what we look for. Ability to perform as advertised. And by the way, we know a lot of tools advertise stuff, and my God, it's,
Borderline.
you know, not to knock other awards that are out there, but we don't take any money or, you know, we'll even bad out some tools. You know, not on purpose, but, you know, as technicians, I have over $100,000 of hand tools in my toolbox, and there's plenty of them that are worthless.
Yeah.
You know, when they first came out, you bought them, you thought they would be super useful, and they're not. So our job is to recommend the tool that is actually going to work and that you'd be happy with. And, you know, I think we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. We renamed it last year, the TST Technician's Choice Award. And I think guys that we recommend tools to are happy, because we see people on a regular basis, monthly, at live events and stuff. And Eric will be speaking about one that is on our list tonight, and it works real well. Proper diagnostic and or repair. So does it really, you know, do the job it says that it's going to do, help you fix the car? Does it solve a problem for you? Okay, this is what we look at. Does it save time? I don't know about you, but time is money. You know, if I have the proper equipment, like one guy asked me last night about Mode 6, you know, there's 4 scan tools out there. One of them, 2 of them are on our list tonight as Technician Choice Award winners that take Mode 6 and convert it for you. Well, he had Brand Red, and Brand Red doesn't convert it to you. So you have to go spend the money or go to a website if it has it for free and download what it did, Test ID or SID, Component ID or MID, monitor ID actually is. All without reading the manual, as Pierre said, because you got to turn it on. And we've had arguments with a few companies, to say the least. You know, sometimes they don't like our opinions or our outcome on a scan tool shootout. But we use the factory tool, and from there, everything better be pretty easy. Because the real world is, when you go to your toolbox, you're not reading any frickin' manual, are you? You're opening it up and go, hey, I'm going to push this thing and hopefully it works.
And by the way, these are our opinions. It's not like Jerry said, we're not paid by anybody. This is what we've found works for us.
Yep. And there are no other awards that are selected completely by working technicians and instructors who use them in the real world. So with that being said, let's move on. But one thing I do want to comment on, you know, last year we had Jim Bradnini from ProTech. It's an insurance company. And I want to remind you guys, I mean, I just renewed my policy and I have $80,000 worth of coverage. Some of you are probably tired of hearing about this, but I feel strongly because years back when I worked in a Ford dealership, guys used to laugh at me. I chained my toolbox to these big steel poles they had in there, myself and one other guy, and I always locked my drawers every night. Well, one night the dealership got broken into and everyone's tools were gone except ours, because it wasn't easy picking. They would have had to, you know, really worked at it to do it. So this tool insurance helps you for $250 a year for $50,000. Perhaps you got one of our email blasts we sent out on it, or you can look in our TST newsletter. It really is something I feel strongly about. Never mind they're a sponsor. Even if they dropped out of being a sponsor, I would still highly recommend it because the tools help us make our living.
And they're so expensive to replace.
Oof.
And sometimes you can't replace them. Let's face it, some of these things, they're not produced anymore, but you find that, you know, whatever it is, I'm using this pen as an example, is really handy and you use it all the time, but you can't buy a new one anymore.
Well, let's say, you know, a true thing that happened to Bernie Thompson. Bernie was in, I know you all know the Bernie tools, ATS. Bernie was in a shop, you know, he does mobile tech stuff out in New Mexico, and he had his Ford IDS on a car. He went to the back of his vehicle to do something else. By the time he got back to go on the car, his Ford IDS was gone. The laptop and the actual interface unit.
And nobody knew nothing.
And no one knew nothing. Now, if he had the insurance at the time, which he didn't, now he does, he would have got full money for it. And they've paid people with it. Basil here, forget it. We don't even want to go there. It hurts.
Not again.
It hurts all the money he lost when he had no insurance.
Just thinking about it. Right?
So at any rate, that's just a plug for them. And our first award goes to the company Associated for their IntelliCharger. And right here, this is the award that they'll be receiving. We'll be mailing these out to them. And this charger is a battery maintainer that has low AC voltage. Also, they have two different units that do that. The one unit has a little thing to plug power into your OBD2 connector. So if you're changing a battery or whatever, they also have another one that has clips so we can put it on the alternator, let's say, and a ground to keep everything alive. So this is a reasonably priced charger that has very low AC voltage to be used for programming, and it is a good tool. So this is why, and easy to use, by the way. So there we go. Congratulations to Associated. Next, Power Probe, but not Power Probe 3. This is Power Probe the hook. Now, I'm a big thing. I've put Power Probe for years, from the very first one that had no light, no meter, no nothing, because it was easy to use in my book. But this Power Probe, blah, blah, the hook, and Eric, you can chime in, or anyone else, does resistance, voltage, and amperage, and has adjustable voltage.
It's nice because most people talk about voltage drops all the time. So when you connect to the battery, you're right at the post of the battery. And they come with pretty stout cables, by the way, now. So you could really put a amperage to a blower motor, for instance, and it won't snap the fuse internally in the Power Probe now. They up the level to like 65 amps. But the best part about it is you can actually test your voltage drops right with your meter in hand. One will tell you what you're at the battery cables, and the other will tell you what the tip is. So you probe each circuit or each part of the wire, and when you see the potential difference, you know you have a drop in the system. So it's that fast. You don't have to have the meter and go to two spots at one time.
Great tool. So congratulations again to our friends at Power Probe there. Okay, the next one is the Induction Innovations, the Mini Ductor.
Good tool.
This thing kicks butt. Well, okay, so you're maybe Mark Warren out there in Arizona that don't have rust. Well, the rest of us, the real world is, we have a hell of a lot of rust.
We're in New York. We have a lot of rust.
Hey, rust makes money.
They put more salt on the road the other day than the snow fell.
And this tool, I have one that's also a very big unit, but this tool here is a handheld unit, the Mini Inductor 2, that does a great job heating something up, right? You use it.
Yeah.
No flames.
No flames. What a great invention. Hats off to them, our friends at Induction Innovations. Now, the next one, probably a lot of you guys don't know about this great tool. And this is not a tool that you're going to wrench on a car. This is tool for the mind and information. This here at MotoLogic is something we feel pretty proud of, because I know Pierre and maybe a couple other guys here,
We beta tested
we
it.
beta tested this thing over 5 years ago. It is something that takes OE information and turns it into like a Wikipedia of where you can look this information up. They have also added color wiring diagrams and how you can actually highlight something similar to what Mitchell does. The OE information is phenomenal. Questions I had last night in my class, I talk about TSBs before you change your catalytic converter. And some of the guys brought up some real good points. They said, hey, I have the big names, Mitchell and AllData and AutoData, and they're great products. I'm a big believer in AllData. But guess what? Sometimes they don't have the latest information. And that car may be 4 years old, but by the time they get the update from the OE that there's a new TSB saying to reprogram something or change something, you may not have that available to you. And then what happens as a technician or a shop owner? You look a little foolish. So this is OE information. A lot of the car lines, they're still adding more and more. There's some European now, Asian, domestic. So hats off to our friends at
I gotta comment on
MotoLogic.
that. I've actually looked them up, looked at it to invest in it, and someday I will. But the best part about it, it hyperlinks everything. So if you're looking up changing a mass airflow sensor per se, it'll actually give you a TSB if there is one on pertaining to the mass air, if I remember right.
That's right.
And also it'll tell you diagrams just by hyperlinking right there, so it's going searching farther, going back and searching for that particular information you're looking for. So it makes it nice, quick, and easy, and all of us know time is money.
Yeah. And now here's one for what I call the Bernie tools, ATS Automotive Test Solutions, for their pressure transducer kit. Now we just had Ken Zanders out here, and Ken is an instructor out of Chicagoland who did a great job and was talking about pressure transducers. And Bernie is, I guess I'll put it the right way I normally talk. He's very anal in making sure things work right. His pressure transducers are right on the money. What a great job, and an inexpensive kit that works either on his 4-channel scope, the E-scope, I think it's called
E-scope
4-channel Limited, and the E-scope Pro. Happened to have both of them. What a great tool, and I was very happy last night in my class. A couple of guys came up to me and said, I have the Bernie tools. I have the scope. One guy had the whole tower. So it is a great product, and Bernie, keep the great work up. These pressure transducers, we would have never diagnosed that vehicle. That was a Mazda RX-8, a compression gauge, told us that the compression was fine. This thing had a drivability problem. In fact, I'm using this in my class out in California. Basically, when I put the transducer in, I was able to see a problem. There was carbon buildup in there, and you wouldn't have noticed it. And then, of course, I used Run Right in there for real. I like our BG buddies, but that's what was available. And you could use BG. VG works real well. I put that in there, and guess what? This vehicle ran like a top. It was like new, and the compression came up. On the gauge, it was no difference. On the pressure transducer, big difference. And of course, if you have a valve timing problem, this thing is good. And also, what I've used it on recently, a misfiring Jeep with the vacuum transducer. That comes all in the kit. So really neat, and hats off again to our friends at Automotive Test Solutions. DrewTech. Well, if you don't own a Mongoose cable, and they're winning this for the GM Mongoose cable, I happen to own a GM MDI. That is the new tool that is taken over on the new platforms for the Tech 2. And it works from the Tech to Win. This Mongoose cable is phenomenal, besides their other products, but we feel for a reasonable price that working with General Motors, you now can have, by clicking in a USB into your computer with this cable and the other end into the OBD2 port, you could have a factory tool for the $55 that it cost you, similar to what Toyota has. And of course, they make the Mongoose cable for the Toyota TechStream as well. So DrewTech, another great job. Hats off to you guys. And I just got my questionnaire from Brian on using the box in the Mongoose cable. So great tool. Now, here's another good tool out, and I know you own this besides myself. This is Launch, and Launch has the GDS. This is a great tool. I will say there's one thing I don't like, only because I know Holland and Victor. And the one thing I don't like is the way the handle is on it, but I love how it performs. I love how you can press the screen, how you can add their sensor simulator on this tool, how easy it is to update. Very good tool. Hats off to Launch and their GDS. Worth the money. Great tool. You have some other comments? I know you're a big proponent of it.
Yeah, I used to pick up, obviously, like most other people, they have is a Snap-on skin on motors. But it's limited, all tools are limited in fact. But I'll tell you what, Launch, from what I've seen over the years, and the new GDS is even more improved, it sees things you never even think was in the car. So they do put a lot of information in that
A lot of coding.
a lot of coding.
A lot of stuff you can do.
Their tech support is excellent. It'll actually guide you through processes that you have to do in a car. It's just a really good thing, a really good product they came up with.
And a lot easier. Ed has, as well as I do, the older versions of the tool, the X431, and he's a mobile tech, and
I use a lot, yeah.
yeah, it's something that'll really save you. Very good for an aftermarket shop. Now, our friends at OTC. OTC, the Genesis Evo, and of course they have a new tool out, but we have not tested that, so can't give them for something we to test. The Genesis Evo, you may have seen our TST webcast on the car with Mac Tools when I use this. It's called P0171, and this is a great tool, not only for doing a webcast, because I can plug right in the top and I can put it on any screen or monitor. You can also use it in a shop the same way, where your customer can see a big screen, a big monitor of everything going on, and you can remotely operate it. Good tool with a lot of information. Pathfinder, which is something when you forgot what map voltage or mass air grams supposed to be, or the Bob, the breakout box, what pin number has what voltage on it. Also built-in Identifix. I can't say enough, they've done a great job. It may be called Bosch OTC now, but I'm not sure. I believe we gave it to OTC Genesis Evo. The name is still the same. The new tool is the Genesis Touch, I think, is their new tablet. But this is for the Evo. Good tool. I'm a big proponent of it, using it. So we got 3 scan tools, because the next one, now Stephen Galinsky is going to fall off his chair because he doesn't know I was a big user of his tool years back, as well as we had Stephen up here in the old STS days.
A few times.
A few times as guest speaker, real smart guy. Has had a great tool back then, kind of fell by the wayside for a while, but now it's back. And I must say, I am super impressed, number one, how easy it is. It definitely has the best graphing in the industry.
They always did.
They always did. After all these years,
He's
and
fantastic.
nothing against any other tool that we just gave awards to, these guys are the target to hit when it comes to graphing. He's done a great job. His bidirectional controls are good. He's basically pumped up the ability to go into other modules. He's going into not only Toyota, where it came in first place on one of our scan tool shootouts a while back, but he now is into Honda and other vehicles. So our award goes here to the Ease Scan Tool Suite that covers all the vehicles. Great job, congratulations. Now our friends at UView, even up there in Canada, yes.
Where they're freezing very badly right now.
Phil and Tony, congratulations. What a great light. This is the UV Phaser Neo. And I gotta tell you, this thing is like a little flashlight, and it is adjustable, but what I like, it works on most dyes with different spectrums.
Yeah, I've tried it.
So, you know, you may have bought your black light from Napa, let's say, with a certain dye from Joe Schmo Company. And you then started buying dye off someone else, and now you can't find the AC leak, the oil leak, or whatever. This light covers a lot of the different dyes, even the dyes that UView obviously make, but other ones that you can buy from CarQuest or Napa or whatever. It's easy, no cords, little chargeable. You have
It's
one,
about
tell 'em.
3.5 inches, and when you turn
Don't
that
talk
on,
personally now.
when you see it, when you turn it on, you have a little tiny little drop on anything. You can see it across the room. That's how
Yeah,
nice it is.
very good, and I like that you can really adjust
Yeah.
it. So, hats off to UView. So these are our awards for the year of 2012. If you have a tool or know someone that makes tools, you want us to check it out, we're more than glad, but as you can see, we're pretty honest. We'll say the pluses and the minuses of a tool, because we're not about helping any companies per se, we're about helping technicians. If by helping technicians it helps the company, hey, we're all for it. But we really are out to help technicians. That's what TST is about. So now with that being said, I'm going to take a few questions on this, and then we're going to come right on with our buddy Peter Cole, and if Doreen could come down, that would be phenomenal. So let me get up
this,
there.
or are we gonna?
You can mention this, and let's get this conversation.
While he's getting that done, we had somebody send us an email. He's got an issue that's coming in more and more often with direct injected engines that are flooding after like a cold start, especially a cold start and an immediate shutoff. You know, they run them kind of rich, and they're washing down cylinders and losing compression. And some vehicles apparently don't have a clear flood, or it's not working, they're not restoring compression. He's having to pull spark plugs out, and he asked us if there was anything else we knew about to help with this. And unfortunately, once it's flooded, my experience is you have to do something like pull spark plugs out, maybe squirt a little oil in the cylinders. And there's two other things. Number one, if the spark plugs are carbon fouled to the point of being, that shiny black, beautiful carbon shell on the insulator, spark plugs, it needs new ones. Secondly, what I've advised customers for quite a while, because as a BMW tech, we had this 20 years ago, we had this problem. If you tell people they have to do it, they have to prevent it from flooding. They start the car cold, if they're going to run it 30 seconds and shut it off, have them rev it up to 2,000, 2,500 RPM. Don't punch it, gently. And release the gas pedal, and while the tach is falling, while it's decaying, and it's in decel fuel cutoff, shut off the key, because there's no fuel being injected. And that'll stop the washdown. But maybe somebody out there has some better ideas. Obviously, some cars have, a fuel cutoff where before the thing, you're clear flood, you're gonna floor it, but that doesn't really restore compression if you've already washed down the cylinder.
You've already lost it.
Yeah, if you've already lost it.
Yeah.
I've had one, it was actually a Mini that gave me a problem, only the customer shut it off at night, parked it, next morning would not restart. It was actually due to carbon buildup on the piston rings.
Okay.
In fact, when you go to start it, it's gonna flood out because it's spraying fuel and it doesn't have compression. It's gonna
Right.
go very quickly. What I did to repair was I pulled plugs, checked, you could hear the thing spinning over very fast. Pulled plugs, did a compression test on it, and obviously there was no compression. Well, to restore it, I literally put BG chemical inductive cleaner down the cylinders, turned it over, let it sit for a period of time, clean the plug, replace the plugs, got it started, and put a ring cleaner from below, 109 from BG. And it actually restored the compression absolutely perfect. The car's still running today.
By the way, that brings the point, a point to mind. BMW, Mini, other brands, Audi, Volkswagen, Mercedes, all recommend top-tier fuels, and you should too to your customers.
Yes.
If you go on, I think it's toptiergasoline.org or .com, something like that, you will see a list of refiners, of gasoline companies who have certified that their fuel has the right detergency to keep engines clean. Now, on direct injection engine, that's not going to help you on intakes, obviously.
No.
But the fact of the matter is, at least it's going to clean piston crowns, it's going to clean injectors, and on regulars, sequential port injected engines, it's going to clean the intake side of the manifold side of the intake valves and so forth.
It comes down to educating your customer. You have to tell them. You have to tell them what's good and bad for vehicles. It's just, most people are going to put the cheapest gas they can because they don't understand what the differences are. So to me, as long as you explain that to them, it's their choice. Let them come back for another service because you're going to make money that way, or they'll be smart and they'll do the right thing.
Okay. We have one comment here from, I guess, someone that works for OTC, SPX Service Solutions. So,
SPX Service Solutions, that's the new name.
well,
Okay.
it may have, I think it still has something to Bosch in it, but I'm not 100% sure. But at any rate, it's the OTC tool that won. Let's move on to Peter Cole. Peter, we're turning your mic on. We're going to take this discussion up. Oh, someone gave us the right answer there. Bosch Service Solutions. Oh, and came
Okay.
from someone who knows.
So it's Bosch Service Solutions.
Okay, so Alan Boggs
OTC
here
Service Solutions.
has something. Fortunately, most states haven't figured out how to pass two contrary laws at the same time. Okay, he's going into the right to repair up in Massachusetts. But since Alan, we have a special guest here, Peter Cole from Neutronics. If you guys do not have an identifier, one for sealant, it's not even an expensive tool that you need. There's a lot of junk in sealant that will mess machines up. And the actual identifier to see what refrigerant is actually in the vehicle. So with that, Mr. Peter, I'm going to take my spot and let's talk about 1234YF. Peter, are you on? Oh, we're getting echo again. Peter, are you on your regular mic?
Yeah, no, I'm exactly where I am.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hang on, I'm gonna type you back.
Something happened.
Wow.
For those of you listening out there, we had a problem with this earlier. We thought we had it solved.
It was working fine.
Okay, we got a guy who needs our sound a little higher, so we're good. Oh, it's Alan's, okay. All right, let's try that, Peter.
Hey, is that better?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I believe
Hey, that's it.
Yes.
Oh, hey, we've seen that.
Very
I
good.
think you could turn that up a little bit now again.
Okay, so how's our volume? Could you guys hear us?
I'm good.
Okay, so
You
Jim,
sound good here too, Peter.
how do we sound? Jim, we have someone on here that's saying we're low. Jim, how's the sound now?
Hopefully
Panel
it's
is
good.
low.
Panel is low.
Let's try to, guys, speak up a little bit.
All right.
All right, well, we're not actually saying anything.
Right.
We weren't talking there for a minute, so maybe that's why we were low. How's that? Is that better?
Yes, is this a better volume for it out there?
Better now.
Okay, that's it. Very good.
Okay, let's get on with our buddy Peter Cole here. So Peter, let's talk about 1234 YF. What's all the buzz?
1234 YF. Well, as you guys probably know, in September, Daimler decided to surprise all of us with an announcement that 1234 YF was flammable. For us, that was kind of Captain Obvious. We all know that for a while. They decided that they ran some tests and they weren't real happy with it. But if we back up just about 8 days before that, Daimler, BMW, Volkswagen, Audi, and several others gave a presentation that I sat in Frankfurt, Germany, where they said 1234 was fine, and there was no problem. And then 8 days later, they changed their mind, so it kind of took everybody by surprise.
Back and forth.
Since then, they've maintained their position, a whole bunch of tests have been done. And I don't know if any of you guys saw the Honeywell videos that Honeywell put out, where they sprayed brake fluid, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, engine oil, all on the same hot surface that they sprayed 1234 YF on. And all of those fluids caught on fire before the 1234 YF. So if their primary complaint is that 1234 YF is dangerous and it's going to catch on fire in a front-end collision, they may want to rethink whether they want to recall their vehicles to remove the power steering fluid, the brake fluid, the gasoline, and everything else that's there. As soon as I know this broadcast won't go beyond this audience here, and I'll deny it if anyone says I said it.
Oh, you're going on YouTube, dude.
Yeah, it probably is. That's okay. Here's a version of the test. Mr. and Mrs. Strudel decided that they were going to go on a camping trip. So they jumped into their 1.6-liter turbo B-Class Mercedes and towing a 1,400-kilogram trailer behind them and started climbing a hill in the German mountains, the Black Forest. And the hill was, I don't know, 5 kilometers high. So they climb up there and the engine's getting warm and so forth and so on. They get to the top of the hill and they look off to the right and they see a stadium. And the engine's starting to get hot and they're not sure why. So Mr. Strudel pulls over, and as he's pulling over, they hear the crowd yell, "Thor, Thor, Thor." And what they were talking about was Thor, God of Thunder, who can throw a javelin further than anyone in the world. And at that exact same moment, the javelin comes out of the stadium and pierces the hood of the car and clips the refrigerant line. And the refrigerant sprays on the hot turbo exhaust and starts a fire. Because when you look at the Daimler test, there's a real-world collision with no front-end damage. For us, it looked like component failure, which is exactly what it was. They intentionally broke a line loose in a location where that line shouldn't have been and sprayed the refrigerant on an overheated surface to intentionally cause it to catch fire. So after GM and Peugeot and Chrysler and Fiat and all the other companies looked at this, the conclusion was Daimler has a design problem, not a refrigerant problem.
And Peter, a question. All refrigerants, even R12, anything that's a carbon is something that can burn at a very high temperature. So this is nothing new. R12 would have burnt at a high temperature, and same with 134A.
And it produced phosgene gas to boot.
So why are they all up in arms?
Well, it depends on your point of view, I guess. We believe that there's some possibilities they're not happy about the price. And by the way, I can tell you what the price is. We just bought, I don't know how much we bought, a couple £100 because we use a lot of it at about $60 a pound.
Oh, so it's dropped.
Now, we were paying 135. We actually started paying 250.
Wow.
And we went to 135, and now we're down to 60.
And now is,
Not because we're special.
right. Now, is it still being produced just in China? I know they were making small batches in the US and probably in Europe, right?
The primary manufacturing facility is in China. There's actually 2 lines in China. One is running, they're prepping the second line, and they were actually very close to running the second line, and then Daimler kind of stopped the world. For us, they stopped the world too. We stopped all development for 90 days because we didn't know what was going to happen, and we just couldn't spend any more than the probably a little over $1 million we already spent on it. But nonetheless, GM has decided to keep going. There is enough supply now to be able to supply everybody. And at the same time that Daimler made this announcement was right at the same week or so that Honeywell announced that the plant was now granted its registration and come online. So
Right, because, you know,
there's some possibility that
for people that don't know, there was a problem with that Honeywell not 3M, who's their other partner there? I just want to bring DuPont. Honeywell and DuPont plant in China, they were, I guess, being delayed somehow. And you didn't hear anything from Mercedes until they finally got the license and were able to produce a good deal, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And we all need to remember that the only reason we have this is because the European Union, European Parliament decided that 134A was contributing to global warming and so forth. And they put a law in place that said as of a certain time, which was originally scheduled to be January 1st of 2011, and then got moved a little bit, that new vehicle platforms, if we talk about a new vehicle platform, I always like to think of the new Camaro. When the new Camaro came out, that was a new vehicle platform. Unlike some other cars where it's the same car over and over again, even though it's a new model year, it's really the same platform. So those vehicles, when they were approved as new vehicle platforms after January 1st of 2011, couldn't have 134A. They had to have a refrigerant with a global warming potential of less than 150. Didn't matter. It could be CO2, could be water, could be anything that they wanted to put in it, as long as it met those requirements. So now that law is only applicable in Europe. But the car manufacturers have decided that it's a global market. They don't want to make a different vehicle if they can avoid it for Europe and the United States. And in the U.S., people like GM and all the other car companies are entitled to credit, emissions credit, if they use a low global warming refrigerant. So because we have new rules that forget what they are, 35.5 miles per gallon and 54.5 miles per gallon coming up in a few years, these guys can get credit against that miles per gallon if they use environmentally friendly fluids.
Now, Peter, can you go over some of the cars? I know Cadillac has one that are currently being produced with 1234YF in it.
Yeah, domestically here in the U.S., the only current vehicle is the Cadillac XTS.
That's their new full-size car. They were supposed to put it in the ATS, their little BMW fighter, the little car, and they did not. And it was supposed to be, when I bought my first Chevy Volt, and even my second Chevy Volt, I still didn't see it in that. So I guess, only one car.
Well, only one car now. It is supposed to be in the ATS. The ATS, they have some engineering challenges with their internal heat exchanger, and getting it to balance correctly. They're using these IHXs or internal heat exchangers now to improve the efficiency of 1234YF. It's not quite as efficient as 134A, and it helps with the cooling properties. So on the ATS, they have some issues with the calibration of the balancing of this internal heat exchanger. And we do expect the ATS to have 1234YF. I would not probably expect it until the fall, when they kind of come out with the new model or the new model year of that. But that will have it soon. Other cars that have it, the Subaru BRZ, while it doesn't have it here in the U.S., in Europe, the Subaru BRZ does have it. Coming soon, the Subaru Forester will have it. Domestically here in the U.S., you're going to see it in Chrysler products. Can't tell you which one, because I'm kind of not allowed to tell you which one. But I can tell you that Chrysler is gearing up for that now, and Chrysler will have that in their cars sometime in the summer.
Wow. So the equipment that people need, besides, of course, your identifier, why don't you tell us a little bit of how or what you need when you're going to recover or charge a system that has 1234YF in it, for those that are not aware of it.
Okay, well, just like they have today with 134A, you probably have what we call a 2788 machine. So it's a recovery recycling machine that meets the standard SAE J2788. That's for 134A. When you go to do 1234YF, you need a similar machine, except it needs to meet SAE J2843. So it's a recovery recycling machine. The special things about it, things like you're no longer allowed to have automatic oil injection on a 1234YF recovery recycling machine. That's to take care of the hybrid problem. Was overlooked when we did 2788. But as you know, if you have automatic oil injection and you're not careful and you go service a hybrid vehicle and you put the wrong oil in a hybrid vehicle, you can have all kinds of not happy things happen.
That's correct.
So no more automatic oil injection.
Fire.
You have spark-proof switches are required now. On the leak detector side, we've got SAE J2813 leak detectors and new refrigerant analyzers, of course. Refrigerant analyzers have become mandatory. So your 2843 recovery recycling machine will not recover the refrigerant until it sees an appropriate signal from an approved refrigerant analyzer.
So let me stop you there.
Inside the machine. Sure.
So let me stop you there. So I think maybe you just said, I may have stepped on you every minute. You need an identifying machine before, and it's built into the unit, is that correct? Before you can recover any of this refrigerant.
The refrigerant must be identified, and it can be done either with an identifier that's built into the recovery recycling machine, or it can be done with a handheld external unit that is tethered to the recovery recycling machine with a USB cable and has an encrypted signal to the machine.
Oh, so no...
People that know what those encryption codes are ourselves, anyone who makes refrigerant analyzers, and the people who make the recovery machine.
No Bluetooth.
No Bluetooth. Bluetooth's an option. I mean, it could be done if somebody was making a recovery recycling machine with Bluetooth capability and someone was making an analyzer that would communicate via Bluetooth. That is allowed in the standard, but there are currently none of those available.
Okay, I'm going to go up there and read a couple of questions, but you can keep battling on. And if you guys have questions for Peter, please ask him here, but we have maybe one or two up here.
This is the man who could talk for 36 hours a day and calls me babbling on.
He also said he's the smartest man.
Before he reads the question, Peter, I have a question. What's the typical charge on these systems at $60 or $80 or whatever dollars a pound?
About the same as what you're seeing on the modern current model 134A system. So, you know, the small cars you're gonna see anywhere down to 13 ounces roughly. And other cars you're gonna see in the range of 1.2 to 1.5 pounds.
Okay.
What you're used to with that. And, you know, yeah, the refrigerant's expensive, and if everybody takes the standard way we've always looked at it, when you were buying 134A, and again, it depends on where you are, what the price is, but let's just use an easy number and say that 134A was $120 for a 30-pound cylinder, about $4 a pound. And the average automotive shop is selling that for, I don't know, anywhere from $10 to $20 a pound if you're selling it in a car. You take those kind of markups, you know, 4X, that means that you're taking $60 a pound refrigerant, you're going to charge $240 a pound. So, you know, some thought has to be given to that from the perspective of the shop owner and the technician as to whether or not it's a practical thing to do.
Hey, Peter, we have a comment from Jim. I haven't seen where high side pressures with 1234 YF are real high and many components are not reusable, so we'll be looking at thousands of dollars for any AC repair, but short component life from high pressures. I guess it's a statement.
The pressure of 1234YF on the high side is actually about 8 psi lower than 134X. So, in the system design, frankly, I know that my particular car, although it does not have an SAEJ 2842 evaporator in it, I can tell you that it will run very well on 1234YF, and it's a 134A system, just as it is. And that's it. Let's think about the Mercedes for a second. Mercedes went and took the 1234YF out of their vehicle. They changed the fitting. They actually changed the entire hose only because the fitting welded to the hose. And they filled them up with 134X. So the system was the same.
What do you see, if any, problems with this 1234YF? Do you think it's a stable system? Do you think it's something we're going to be repairing constantly?
The only open question in my mind is the oil for the compressors. It's not ND8. You know, we're used to ND8 tag oil, which stands for Nippon Denso version 8. We're going to ND12 because the additive package that was in the ND8 isn't quite suitable for 1234YF. We can only assume that they've done all their homework on that and the compressor life's going to be long enough. But I think the compressor life is really the open question mark here, whether there's going to be any issues there with the new oil. If you take a look at some of the vehicles like the Subaru BRZ, for example, the compressor is listed for use with 1234YF or 134A. So, you know, they're using the same compressor in both systems. It's just a different oil and a different refrigerant.
Oh, that's nice. That's good to know.
Does that mean they're using the same expansion valves and so forth? I mean, it's really similar hardware?
Condenser as well?
No, condenser, you said was
It's
good.
not identical. Yeah, it's not identical, but it's the same principle of operation. But it's the difference between, you know, an expansion valve in a Ford and an expansion valve in a Chevy. They're both expansion valves and they connect a little differently, but it serves the same purpose.
And are they using when it
So
comes
you really don't see much difference.
Right.
when it comes to orifice tubes rather than expansion valves, which is, you know, similar setup, but is it a variable orifice tube or a fixed orifice?
No, most of them are going variable.
They are, okay, because those worked way better.
Say that again?
I said the variable ones worked way better, you know, when I would do a lot of 134 cars, and if you got a limo in and it had a fixed orifice, it seems like it wouldn't get cold enough, but you put one of the variable ones in, it would work quite well.
Yeah, most of them are going variable. One of the reasons they're doing that is because they can better control the refrigerant flow and the temperature. And one of their goals for some of these folks that need the fuel mileage, that are borderline on getting their numbers, is they're trying to make sure that they keep the on time on the compressor down to a minimum. And you can do that better by being able to vary several of the components or several of the factors of the AC system than having them all fixed.
Now, how about price on the equipment? Any, could maybe you start with a sealant detector? Is there gonna still be one of those for 1234YF?
It's possible. We have not made one yet. We're not aware of anyone else who has made one. One of the reasons is because we need to think of where the market is. Or if you're not at a dealership and not at a body shop, the likelihood that you're going to see a 1234YF car roll in the next 24 to 36 months is probably pretty low, because that vehicle is going to be under warranty and going to go back to the dealer. I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. Body shops are going to be the first to see them, and of course the dealers have it. With this refrigerant being as expensive as it is, I don't see sealants coming into play. What I really see coming into play is people putting 134A into the 1234YF system. And again, it's unfortunate. The industry's kind of known about this for quite a while, but Mercedes let the whole cat out of the bag when they said, oh yeah, bring your car in, we're going to switch the fittings and put a different refrigerant in. They basically told everybody, guess what? You don't have to use 1234YF in a 1234YF system. Now,
So,
some legalities to whether you can do all that without changing the fitting. But I can tell you that we saw at each of the automotive shows we've been to recently, Automechanic in Germany, Apex here in the U.S., the adapter fitting, that these companies are claiming are for your dye injector gun, to be able to clip your dye injector gun that has a 134A fitting attached to it onto kind of a male nipple for 134A, and then the other end of it is a 1234YF clip coupler. And if they're making these clip couplers that I can snap onto a 134A coupler and then clip onto the car, that makes it real easy to get a different refrigerant in without having to mess around with hoses.
so Peter, in other words, we're back to air condition aids again, huh? Contamination.
Same thing with R12 and 134,
Yeah,
and all the other approved refrigerants, or unapproved.
Yeah, but the better side of that, fortunately, and this is why it had nothing to do with us or anybody else who was selling equipment, the vehicle manufacturers mandated that refrigerant analyzers be used for the refrigerant to be recovered, because they're concerned that someone takes one of these adapters, somebody feels like your air conditioning's not blowing cold enough, they run over to their local, pick their favorite auto parts store, grab a can of 134A, clip one of these adapters on it, and just shoot some juice in there.
With sealant in it.
Yeah, see, that's where I think the sealant's gonna go.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially with sealant in it, yeah, that's always possible.
Oh, boy.
I'm sure eventually we will make a kit for that. We tested it, it works, and we can detect sealant in a 1234Y system. Of course, we haven't tested it a whole lot, because when we were paying $250 a pound, you try to be real careful with how much value after you use it. But it's certainly kind of going to be a mess. The industry took a great step. Hey, I want to make sure that I mention one thing. I'm actually going to type this in, if that's okay, Gene, because this has become a subject of a lot of tension among the SAE folks. And let me paste here. There it is.
So are we allowed to read what you type in and say it out loud?
Oh, yeah, sure. I want you to, because it'll be better. I think the audio is better if you say this.
You just want to get us in trouble. So I have Ed up there that'll do the reading.
Well, there was one comment.
Gee, we got a question from Jim Haynes to the panelists. It says, will the 1234YF cars be shipped with dye for leak finding when new, rather than a real pricey fill and hope deal?
So what do you think, Peter? Is dye going to be in there?
I think some of them will put dye in there, and I think some of them will continue their current policy of not putting dye. So, the best information we have is, if the OE is putting dye in over wafers at the factory today, they will continue to use those 1234 YF. Those who are not putting dye in will not put dye in 1234 YF.
So Peter, this is like some turbulent times for, I'm sure, Neutronics, the company you work for, where you're not 100% sure what the OEs are gonna do. They can't make the damn mind up. And if it's someone like myself or the guys around this table or any other technician out there, you're gonna need to invest in equipment. And I'd probably feel more comfortable down the road if there was a sealant detector besides the identifier. Because we all know people in this business, just like you gave the example, they're gonna be rigging stuff up big time.
And the public too,
Yeah.
you know?
You're absolutely right. One will come along. I can tell you that it will come along. We've got a few other things on our plate at the moment that we're working with. We've got this little R40 problem that's still kicking around, and some development for the military. But from our perspective, that will happen. It's just a matter of how long it'll take.
Excellent. Well, you're always informative. I know our little conversation out there, or big conversation between yourself and Gary out in Las Vegas was quite interesting. And I appreciate the insight into something, because, you know, our whole goal is helping technicians, keeping them up to date, and providing them with information. And I think this is another one where, you know, they're gonna have to invest, a shop, like you said, maybe they have 18 months, but down the road, they're gonna have to invest in new equipment. And it'd be nice if all the OEs were on the same page, because we know the real world, people are gonna be rigging these things up left and right, and it's gonna be a nightmare again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hey, I just see the message from Jim here, and he's asking if you can put 134A and mix it with NV12 oil, which is for 1234YF. And the answer is yes. NV12 will work with 134A, NV8 will not work with 1234YF. And the link I posted there is pretty important. It's the macdb.sae.org. SAE ran into some problems where people were advertising that different pieces of equipment met the SAE standard. And those certain pieces of equipment were never ever tested to the SAE standard. So they have a certification process. So if you go to that website and you look up the particular make, model, or manufacturer of the equipment, you can see if they've received the SAE certification or not, and not just go by the little advertisement they have on their particular flyer.
Should we send that out to everybody on the webcast?
Yeah, we could. Well, you know what we'll do?
It's public, and it's, we think it's important things are getting added. So, for example, right now, the only approved recovery recycling machine for 1234YF comes from now Bosch Service Solutions, or Robinair as we all think of them. There's a leak detector from TPS. There's a leak detector from Twin Rivers Engineering, which is actually sold by Robinair. But there's I got an advertisement from somebody in Europe that was advertising a machine that was approved to the new SAE standard. And, you know, of course, I'm close enough to it. I know they haven't even sniffed the SAE standard yet, but it's been approved to it. But they're advertising it as approved. So if you reference this before you buy a piece of equipment, you'll know whether or not that piece of equipment truly has been approved before you buy it.
Now, Peter, are you given any seminars or lectures down at the Mobile Air Conditioning Society upcoming event?
I will not be speaking at all. However, I can tell you that there's a really, really smart guy who will be speaking, actually two of them, together. One guy's named Jim Baker. Jim Baker, former GM engineer, and he's actually a really, really smart guy. And he will be talking about 1234YF along with Tim Craig, and I think Tim is from Genso, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong there. But in any case, they will be speaking about 1234 YF. I'll be down there playing golf.
Ah, you'll be playing golf.
And doing
Lucky
other
you.
things that I gotta do, but yeah, no, I'll be in some of the presentations and not presenting it all this year.
Very good. Anyone have any other questions for Peter?
One question, when it said it's not gonna recover unless it was identified, does that mean the machine's not gonna do the recovery? or
That's
it's just gonna
correct.
Lock it out?
Yeah.
So people can still vent this into the air?
They can still vent it into the air and fill it with the wrong stuff, right.
I'm not approving, I'm just saying.
But
like you
more
said,
likely-
people are gonna get around it.
More likely what would happen is they'd have a problem, something would break, they'd buy a hose, and they find out the refrigerant's expensive, and they'd buy the wrong refrigerant, 134A, and put it in.
They enforce
And the
it.
next guy's the guy who has to deal with it, and tell the customer that, you know, they can't recover it and they have to, well, actually at that point, I guess you'd have to cobble together something. If it was identified as 134A, you'd have to make an adapter fitting so you could recover it to your 134A machine.
But if it's mixed, then you're gonna mess
If
up
it's
your
mixed, you
machine
got the
anyway.
mix, you got the mess, right?
And
There's where you got the air
That's the
conditioning.
mess.
It's just
Yeah.
gonna go in everyone's
It's
The
going
car.
back
same
to square
crap we
one.
had back when they switched from R12 to 134 and people were putting everything under the sun.
Ed has a question.
You might have talked about this and I might have missed it, but on a 134 system, you kind of know what the pressure should be running at on a relatively mild day. Will the pressures be different on a 1234 YF system?
They are slightly different. I can tell you that Red Dot has published the 1234 YF PT chart, but they are very close.
Okay.
Very close to 134F.
Higher or lower,
It
Peter?
said lower, 8 pounds.
Comes lower.
8 pounds lower?
Yeah, about 8 psi on the high side, but when you look at ambient temperature at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, you wouldn't know the difference. You wouldn't know there was a problem.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so,
It's virtually the same.
That's interesting.
very good.
Okay, thank you.
And that was one of the advantages of 1234 YF, is that the PT curve was right on top of 134A. You mentioned something about the wrong refrigerant. One of the concerns that the OEs have, and we have, and I know no one who ever watches this video would ever do something like this, but the refrigerant is expensive. Somebody's going to go in and take their Cadillac in for a brake job at 20,000 miles, and they're going to get a free refrigerant change. Somebody's going to suck $160. Now, when I say $160, that's not a retail cost. That's $60. That's more of a wholesale cost. So
Right.
somebody's going to suck that $120 in wholesale refrigerant out of the vehicle and fill it with $12 worth of refrigerant. Because unlike the R12 days, you couldn't do that with R12 because the oils were different. So you can only do that in the winter time. But on a YF system, essentially, that can happen any time of year. Because if the AC was working before, the AC is going to work after. Because 134A will work fine in that system.
Right.
And it'll be much later that someone's going to find out it was a swap. that
We'll
they
have
did
to,
there.
we'll have to put tamper seals back on the porch, just like the old days.
Yeah, and of course, that's one of the reasons why they chose to go with an analyzer on every one of these machines, so that the next guy who serviced that vehicle didn't, if they didn't test the refrigerant, wouldn't be able to recover it until the refrigerant is proved to be good. The machine won't let them get in trouble, at least for the moment.
Now, Peter, how many machines are out there? Does every GM dealer that sells a Cadillac have this piece of equipment?
Yeah, there's about 1,150 Cadillac dealers, and they've all received recovery recycling machines. Actually, the great majority of Mercedes dealers have them too. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but they have them. Of course, they have to pull the refrigerant out with them, and so they got some expensive stuff there. I expect the Chevrolet in 2014, late 2013, early 2014, particularly the Malibu, will have the new refrigerant. That was actually supposed to have it this year, right alongside the ATS or the XTS, except the supply problem of refrigerant. They had to cut back one of the vehicles, and that's the one they cut back and decided to delay. But now the European Commission has decided that they're going to enforce their law, and there's no more delays based on supply of refrigerant. So we're all kind of sitting here wondering what Mercedes is going to do. As of right now, they continue to fill their vehicles with 134A in Europe, even in violation of the European law. And we'll see who wins first.
Pretty interesting. Well, once again, Mr. Peter, you've been very informative. I want to remind our audience out there that we do have a video with you on it on YouTube that has, I believe, some large number of views. If they want to know a few more things about AC, to go check that out on our YouTube channel, TST Seminars. Type in AC and you'll probably come up with Peter's face again. So if you weren't nauseous from tonight, you can try your luck again. No, I'm only kidding. But, you know, Peter, we always thank you for your time and your expertise and your company, Neutronics, again, the makers of, in my opinion, the best identifier. I've been using them for years, and I do love that sealant detector because it saved my equipment multiple times.
Yeah, me
As
too.
soon as we have one for 1234YF, we'll let you know.
Excellent. Very good. Any other questions out there for Peter? Well, once again, we thank you guys for tuning in, and if you're seeing this on our YouTube channel, once again, our TST Technician Choice Awards for 2012, they're Associated for their Intelligent Charger, Power Probe for their hook, Inductive Innovations for their Mini Ductor 2, MotoLogic for their information system that's online, ATS Automotive Test Solution for their transducer kit with their eScope, DrewTech for their Mongoose cable, the GM2, Launch for the GDS scan tool, OTC, the Genesis Evo, Ease, their scan tool suite, our friends at UView with the UV phaser, a great light for just what we were talking about, air conditioning. So once again, we thank you for your time. Congratulations to the winners. Have a good night. Oh, question?
Jim says, good show, guys. Thanks for taking the time to
Well, thank you, and we wouldn't do this without all you guys out there. And thanks once again to all our sponsors and to these guys here besides myself for volunteering to take the time to try to keep you guys up to date. And special guests to Peter Cole, even though his boss Gary twisted his arm to come on tonight. No, only kidding. Gary didn't twist Peter's arm. Peter's always good. He's come up here. Neutronics is a great company. They've helped us out from years back before they were a webcast. So thank you once again from New York. I'm G. Trulio for TST.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Where can we go?
That's pretty good. I got 2.5 pages of notes out of that. I'm only